Hello again, and we now have chapter 27, Battle of the Billiards Room. As quickly as Soot could scramble further up the chimney, Wagner followed close behind. The owl was snapping wildly at the ghost's heels. Soot had haunted Saxby Hall for decades and knew every twist and turn of the house's huge network of chimneys that ran up and down the house behind the walls. As two tunnels met, the ghost leaped to one and tumbled downwards, landing in the fireplace of the billiards room. And billiards is a game a bit like snooker or pool. This was the place where a long line of Lord Saxby's would entertain their male guests after dinner. Here they would play billiards, smoke fine cigars and drink whiskey from cut-glass tumblers. It had not been used for many years. The huge wooden billiard table was stood proudly in the centre of the room, but its rich green top was thick with a layer of dust. Soot tumbled out of the fireplace, crawled across the room and hid behind one of the stout wooden legs of the table. A moment later, Wagner shot out of the chimney, a large cloud of coal dust following him. The great bird flapped his huge wings to disperse it and settled on the rug for a moment. He glanced around the room and tipped his head down and inspected the trail of black soot and handprints that were clearly visible on the cream rug. They started at the fireplace and stopped somewhere under the billiards table. The bird had his prey. Soot stayed as still as he could behind the table, trying not to give himself away. But the owl followed the little patches of coal dust that Soot had left behind, hopping on his talons towards the ghost slowly and silently. Finally, the bird was on the other side of the table. Leg frozen in fear, Soot could hear the bird breathing. The ghost reached one hand up to the tabletop, and as silently as he could, he grabbed hold of a billiards cue to defend himself. But the wooden cue clunked on the edge of the table, and Wagner hopped to one side. Squawk! The noise the bird made was deafening. Soot held out the cue in front of him, but before the boy could take a swing at Wagner, the owl tore the wooden pole out of their hands with his bill. Then the bird proceeded to snap it in two. Snap. However, this gave Soot the chance to leap up out of the way and onto the table. There were a number of coloured balls on the table. Having lived a short life as a chimney sweep, Soot had no idea what the different balls were for. But right now, he had a good use for them. As the owl hopped up onto the table opposite him, his sharp talons ripping straight through the green, Soot picked up one of the white balls. And with all his strength, he hurled it straight at Wagner. The bird's reflexes were super sharp. The owl caught the ball between his talons. And Soot could only watch in wonder as the creature proceeded to slowly crush the ball. Crunch the ball. Crunch. Wagner turned it into dust. The ghost leaped off the table and dashed towards the door. The owl rose from the billiards table and zoomed after him. Soot threw any objects he could in the path of the bird. Chairs, books, paintings, even a coffee table. But the bird merely bashed all of them out of the way with his wings and crashed against the wall. They would smash into pieces. Smash! Finally, Soot reached the door. Fumbling, he just managed to open it. He glanced behind him. The owl was flying towards him at top speed. Wagner had stretched his body out long and thin so he could whiz through the air faster than a bullet. Soot slammed the door behind him. Slam! A second later, there was a colossal crash. The bird had flown straight into the door. Soot allowed himself to smile as he stood out on the corridor. Keeping his head on the door handle, he was determined to trap the terrifying bird inside. Crash! The door took another impact. The ghost could hardly believe it. The owl was smashing his way out. Crash! Soot could hear the bird's wings flapping again as Wagner took to the air, no doubt circling the billiards table to have one more go. Soot kept his hand firmly on the handle. Crash! This time, the thick wooden door buckled under the impact. Soot decided to make a run for it. As he fled down the corridor, the great Bavarian mountain owl blasted through the door. Boom! Shards of wood exploded everywhere. Smash. As Wagner landed with a bump on the floor, the owl lay motionless. Had he knocked himself out? The bird was certainly stunned. The ghost tiptoed along the corridor and disappeared into the first room he could find, shutting the door silently behind him. It was the nursery. An old rocking horse stood at the window and a huge railway set was spread out across the floor. There were large books with lots of pictures in them, teddy bears, dolls, toy soldiers, a huge box of marbles, toy cars, even a dog on wheels. It was Sut's favourite room in the house by far. Neither he nor the other children in the workhouse had owned a single toy, and this was a magical place for him. But as much as he wanted to stay and play, he had to keep moving. And he had made his way over to the fireplace and climbed up the chimney. Back in the darkness of the tunnels, he knew he had to find his friend Stella. He had to warn her. Aunt Alberta had not been upstairs in her bed sleeping this whole time, after all. Where was she? Suddenly it dawned on him exactly where she was. And in an instant, he knew the girl was in terrible danger. And the next chapter is called Under the Cover of Darkness. Until then, goodbye.